have had like 60 too many donuts. Alright, what's up YouTube? We're back today. Back a long time since my last video actually. Just a whole bunch of stuff going on. I'm back at school now. And today I'm going to be telling you how I lost about 40 pounds, going from 217.7 pounds in February to 177.7 pounds in about 100 days. There's about 5 steps on here, and the last one in particular people tend to have some misconceptions about, so it'll be important to make sure you stay and look at that one. I'm Joe Simon, or Schmojo, and I'm a 4.0 GPA undergraduate student studying biology, French, and neuroscience. I also just want to point out, since my last video, we hit 100 subscribers. I believe we're at 103 right now, and I think that's super cool. I'm super grateful that just really anybody wants to watch my videos, so as long as I'm helping somebody, I think that's super, super fucking cool. Thanks. So you want to know how I went from this butter eating, donut grabbing, cookie munching motherfucker to this very skinny, petite man, okay? And I will say, since my last video, I'm a lot heavier. I rebounded pretty hard after my last show, so I may have had like 60 too many donuts. Not all that soon after my show, but since then I've had a donut or two, or maybe some cookies or two. I should probably throw this Swiss roll wrapper away. But basically I've been eating good. I know it's not really the best example for the topic of the video, but the methods I used to lose this 40 pounds is what I'm gonna do in about 6 weeks, because I'm doing like 12 weeks of bulking, 6 weeks of cutting, and I'm basically gonna repeat that cycle for like gaining muscle, shredding off the fat, gaining muscle, taking off the fat, stuff like that. So yeah, I went from basically the heaviest I've ever been to about 7 or 8% body fat, I believe. Starting off with step number 1, meal prep's gonna be your best friend. You have to make your eating schedule as robotic as possible. Like, the more variables you keep the same, the more likely you're gonna stick to your diet. I've seen so many people just kind of like flimsily make their meal prep, and the more variables you have just like all over the place, it's gonna make it so much harder for you to just really stick to the goals that you've set for yourself. Maybe your goal is to just lose weight. Maybe your goal is to see your abs. Maybe those goals are all in the same. Whatever it is, you need to be eating very, very similarly day to day. And yes, you're gonna have some cheat meals, but the more you keep the same, the better. Like for me, basically every day I was eating the same amount of oatmeal and eggs in the morning, and they were egg whites, they weren't even eggs because the eggs have fat in them. I was eating tilapia, green beans, and sweet potatoes for lunch, and I was eating beef and rice as my last meal of the day. And in between those meals, I was having these protein shakes with carb powders and creatine in them. Lean meats, healthy carb sources, and also just healthy fat sources are going to be super useful in obtaining the goals that you want to when it comes to weight loss. It doesn't have to be exactly like how I did it, but people's diets when they're cutting down are going to look more similar than people who are bulking up. So we got past one of the harder ones. Meal prep is pretty, in my experience, it was difficult to start. Like, it's just how it is. But now, when I'm doing it, it's like so easy. I just wake up every Saturday or Sunday morning and get it done. I have the whole rest of the day to just do whatever I want. Go lift, go hang out with friends, whatever. You get it out of the way, it's super easy. And for step 2, I feel like it goes without saying, but you need to be lifting regularly if you want to keep the muscle mass that you have. If you're not lifting at least like 4 to 6 times per week, when you're losing this weight, you're going to be losing the muscle mass you've gained too. For someone who is trying to look really shredded, that's not very ideal because you're already going to look smaller. Well, let me put it this way. When you're shredded, you give the like idea that you're bigger because you're leaner, you can see your striations, you're dry, stuff like that. You yourself are gonna be able to tell like, oh, I'm a little bit smaller just because I'm carb depleted, I'm water depleted, I've lost weight, you know, the main factor here. But if you're not lifting regularly, if you're not challenging yourself enough in the gym, maybe you're not giving yourself enough rest so you can't be as strong and keep stimulating your muscles as well, then you're gonna look even smaller. Just make sure you're doing it correctly. And yeah, the reason I said 4 to 6 times per week, just in my experience at least, 7 isn't really all that great, just because when you're in that calorie deficit, it does take a toll on your body and it is harder to recover from. Anywhere from 4 to 6, just test it out with your body. listen to your body, and rest adequately. So for the third step, cardio is another major point, just because it does help accelerate the calorie deficit and it does help get rid of some of the stubborn fats. I wouldn't say it's necessary, but it does help a bunch. For me, I was doing 3 to 4 times per week, about 40 minutes, just like a brisk walk on the treadmill and 10 minutes on the Stairmaster. Like I said before with the meal prep, it doesn't have to be exactly like how I did it. I mean, I was cutting pretty aggressively, but you know, I'm probably like on the scale, I was probably from the scale being, you know, like a mild cut to like pretty fast, like aggressive cutting. I was probably like right there. And you know, there's a lot of gray area. It doesn't have to be either or. You can just pick your own pace and you'll be fine. So playing off those last 3 steps, you're gonna wanna be tracking your daily calories or your daily caloric intake. If you're not able to get it down to a T, at least with your meal prep, make sure you're eating the same foods every day. You don't have to exactly be tracking calories, but it sure does help. And the reason I'm saying you don't need to track your calories, and like I said, does help, is that if you're eating the same things every day and you're not seeing what you want to on the scale, you can just cut back on some of those foods a little bit. Like if you're not losing weight, maybe you even gained a little weight from your new plan because you're eating consistently, you're getting a good diet in, you can just shave some of that stuff off. Like maybe for me, I was having 2 oatmeal packets per day in the morning, right? Deeper into the cut, it was getting, I wouldn't say more difficult, but I wasn't losing as much weight, so it made it 1 packet of oatmeal, and then that helped lose the weight that I wanted to. If you can't track calories, you definitely want to track the scale. And the scale not being what you put to weigh your food, the scale being what you, like you putting your actual body on the weight scale, weighing yourself, obviously. For me, at 217 pounds, I started at 2,900 calories, but as you know, I was losing weight, so that means you also have to decrease your calories like I mentioned prior. I went to like 2,300, 2,400 calories by the very end. So say you're someone that's 180 pounds, you don't really know what your metabolism's like, maybe start off with 2,600, 2,700 calories. If you don't see what you want, shave off incrementally some of those calories. Maybe instead of 180 grams of sweet potatoes, you do 160 grams. Instead of 250 grams of egg whites, you do 200 grams of egg whites. You know, you're gonna make some little decisions here or there. You're gonna see what you want to see. You're gonna see yourself losing weight and achieving the goals that you want to. So along with this, you have to be realistic. This is still part of that 4th step. You have to know that the first couple weeks, you're gonna have a lot of weight loss, especially if you are in that correct calorie deficit. After those first couple weeks, you might not see as much. You can't be discouraged by that. You can't be discouraged by this, oh, I lost like 6 to 8 pounds in those first couple weeks, and now it's like, I can barely lose like a 1/4 of a pound. And you have to know you're losing carbs, so you're very carb depleted. A lot of people aren't very hydrated, so you're probably water depleted too. Your digestion is much better now because you're actually eating correctly, or maybe you already were eating correctly. Once you're past that 2-week phase of like losing all the carbs, you're gonna be able to really see like how you need to edit your diet, and then you can lose like actual fat off your body and you can lower that body fat percentage. I would go for 1 to 2 pounds per week. Me personally, I didn't feel like extreme fatigue through dieting. Yes, my pumps got worse throughout the process, but I was really like, oh, this kind of just feels the same to me. It's not gonna be the same for every person. If you're doing 2 pounds per week and you're really feeling like shit, maybe cut back a little bit. It's okay to be patient. But yeah, don't drive yourself crazy. Don't feel like shit. Make sure you're doing this healthfully. I mean, the irony of it is that like this isn't very sustainable. Like your body is in a deficit. It is lacking a surplus of nutrients. So, you know, you have to make it as healthy as possible. You have to make sure you're listening to your body. The last tip had to do with the caloric deficit and just being like realistic about those first couple weeks. This last tip is altogether just in its own being realistic. Everyone thinks they're gonna get this insane CBum, Mike O'Hearn, 6-pack, 8-pack, 10-pack abs. That's probably not gonna happen to you unless you have insane godlike genetics, but it's just probably not going to. There is an upside to this though. You're gonna see other key features getting leaner. You're gonna become more vascular in your arms. You're gonna be getting a like insane jawline. People talk to me all the time. They're like, you had like, they call it the death face because like, you know, eyes sinking in the back of my head, my jawline, like I'd never been that lean before. I thought I had been because of when I used to play soccer, but like I had never been that lean in my entire life. Some people are gonna have those abs, they're gonna see leanness in that area first. Some people are gonna see leanness in their legs first. Some people are gonna see like striations in their chest. The fat drops off of people in different places at different times. So you just have to make sure you're just being patient with the entire process. Maybe you cut down as much as you can for a natural person, or maybe you're on gear. For a natural person, when you're getting to that like 6 or 7 body percent, it's really not that healthy to go any lower. There have been people that have gone lower, but that takes like insane conditioning. But yeah, I'm just trying to help you out, trying to make sure you're being realistic, and just because you're being realistic doesn't mean you have to be pessimistic. Like, this whole process is a ton of fun. Seeing yourself get leaner is awesome. You get to see all the little mind muscle connections that you have. When you're at that point when you're super lean, you can see every like fiber. It really tells you what you need to work on for your next bulk when you're wanting to grow. Like for me, it's my rear delts. I mean, if you ask for my honest opinion, I would just say everything needed to be bigger. Like my back needs to be bigger, my rear delts, that's a whole different story. And my chest. And my biceps. I like my triceps though. Anyways, but yeah, that was my video on how to get lean in 100 days. Some people might do it in 80, some people might do it in 150. Like I said, there's a broad range. If you're doing it more aggressive than I was, that's okay. Just make sure you feel healthy, make sure you're doing it healthily. Someone who is doing it more patiently, just, you know, it's probably gonna take longer, and that's okay. You decide, as long as you're not killing yourself over it. I really appreciate you watching this video. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like. I really, again, am super grateful that we got over 100 subscribers through the last video. Can't wait to see more growth. So yeah, leave a comment, and I'll see you all in the next video I make. Thanks.